Mamakyanatimamnasyam Dakshurmilpamyena Tasmai Shirovayana Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapustaya Vitale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pachami Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachandra Satami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we are chapter 5. Karma Yoga actioning Krishna consciousness. It appears that Arjuna is still confused to fight or not to fight. Because at the end of the 4th chapter, Krishna has advised Arjuna to wake up and fight in perfect knowledge. So, by stressing both working in devotion and inaction in knowledge, Arjuna is still perplexed, confused. And therefore, this 5th chapter starts with a question similar to the question at the beginning of the 3rd chapter. So he wants to know what is better, work in devotion or renunciation of work. That Krishna replies that the results of renunciation and devotional service are the same. But devotional service is superior. Because devotional service frees one from the reactions of material work. And renunciation alone cannot do that. So we start with chapter 5. So renunciation of work in devotion. That's the question. This is an overview of this section till verse 6. Chapter 5 opens with a question. Similar to the question we heard in the beginning of chapter 3. Which is better, the touched work or work in renunciation? Yeah, the touched work or renunciation of work. Krishna replies, although the results of karma yoga and renunciation of work are ultimately the same, it will create attachment. Karma yoga is better because easier to perform, safer, and more practical as it keeps the senses engaged while simultaneously purifying the heart by working with the attachment. It's more safe when you engage the mind and senses in devotional service. Because otherwise the mind will engage you. It's difficult to control. So the first question. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Arjuna Vacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Puna Yoga Sasamsashi Yashaya Yoga Ekam Tani Bhuri Sunishitam. Arjuna said, first of all, you asked me to renounce work, and then you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial. So, so the Lord says that walking devotional service is better than dry mental speculation. Devotional service is easier than the latter. Being transcendental in nature, it frees one from reaction. But by simultaneously stressing the importance of work in devotion and inaction in knowledge, Krishna is perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how work is stopped? That's the question. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non-reactive and is therefore the same as inaction. That's what we explained before. Inaction within action. That he doesn't get that. That's what's explained in the purport. So, Vishwanashaka Bhakti. It is not possible to perform both renunciation of action and karma yoga at once, because there is essential contradiction between the two, just as there is a contradiction between remaining stationary and moving. So that is Arjuna's doubt. He says that karma yoga and renunciation of action, it doesn't go. Or you are active or you are not. That it doesn't get that karma yoga is action on the spiritual platform, but inaction on the material platform. It's renounced because you do it for Krishna. So at that point, he doesn't get that. Good. So in other words, Arjuna is confused because Krishna simultaneously stressed work in devotion and inaction in knowledge. That's what Prabhupada says in that. But action, work in devotion is inaction, is material inaction in knowledge. Work in devotion is spiritual action. There is no reaction. Therefore, it's like inaction on the material platform. That, it depends on our desire. If we are renounced of the fruits, then we are inactive on the material platform. Then we push the blue button. But if we push with our desire the red or the green button, we get in problem. Baladev, this is verse 2. Let's first read verse. So in verse 1, so the essence is that Arjuna has not understood that work in full knowledge, working in Krishna consciousness. Full knowledge means that I'm a servant of Krishna and everything belongs to Krishna. And everything is for his enjoyment. That is work in full knowledge. If one works as a servant of Krishna, there is no reaction. It's like being on a material platform inactive. Therefore, that's the same as inaction. So inquires therefore whether he should cease work or altogether work with full knowledge. Text 2. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Sanyasa karma yogasna nishrasav karavava taisa karma sanyasa karma yoga vasishyate. The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotion service is better than renunciation of work. So as long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate to different types of bodies, therefore continuing material bondage perpetually. That so if one is renunciation of work and the other work in devotion. If one renounces work, then there is no reaction. That's good, and that leads to liberation. But one's previous karma is not burnt away. It's still there, and material desires are still there. So it's good for liberation, going towards liberation, but Bhakti Yoga is more powerful. It's not only good for liberation, but it burns your previous karma. And it purifies your heart. Therefore, it's better than just renouncing. So as long as, yeah. And then you have these verses here. We will read the commentaries first. This is what Vidyabhushan. Karma Yoga is better. Karma Yoga or devotional service is better because it's easier to perform, because it is safer, and because it contains jnana within it. That's interesting. If you perform devotional service, Krishna gives you realization, knowledge to the heart. So it contains knowledge within it. Baladev Vidyabhushan says. And Karma Yoga does not have knowledge within it. The just renunciation has no jnana within it. But Karma Yoga of devotional service, because Prabhupada here says work in devotion. And Baladev Vidyabhushan says Karma Yoga. But Karma Yoga is work in devotion in its perfection. Prabhupada uses work in devotion. Baladev Vidyabhushan is saying Karma Yoga. But it's the same thing. Renunciation without Krishna consciousness is incomplete. Renunciation is incomplete when it is in the knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord. Then it's complete. And that no one should claim proprietorship over anything or the right to enjoy anything. Since everything belongs to Krishna, everything should be employed in the service of Krishna. So this is Bhakta Rasamrita Sindhu. That 258, yeah. This is a verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu following the definition of Rupa Goswami of real renunciation. Anasaktasya visayam yatastan upayum yata nirbandha krishna sambandhe yuktavahyam uchate prapansikatya buddhya hari sambinivastuna mumukshavir paritse varhyam falhukachate. We will probably need to memorize that for the next devotion. Definition of real renunciation. When one is not attached to anything, that's the first thing. One should not be attached to anything. But at the same time, accepts it in relation to Krishna. At the same time, knows it belongs to Krishna. One is rightly situated above possessiveness, above transcendental. If you think something is mine, that on the material platform there's illusion. On the other hand, one who rejects without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. So a devotee knows, I don't reject it. It belongs to Krishna. So he will try to use it in Krishna's service. But those impersonalists who just renounce, they say, it's Maya, I reject it. And that's not complete renunciation. So that's the principle described here. But then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada brings up the teachings of King Rishabhadev from the 5th canto. And these verses describe mad materialistic people. Namam pramata kote vikarma yadindya pritika apnipnoti nasadmani ata atma yamasana peklesha da asadeha parabhavasta vavabodhishato yavana jiknastat matatam yavatya stavatatam anavaikamatma chamyena sarira bandha evam manakama vasam payumte avidyayatman upadiyamani kritirna yavan mayevasudeve namuchate deha yugena tavat. People are mad after sense gratification, and they do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruitive activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his real identity. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitive results for sense gratification, and as long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. Although the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop love for devotional service to Vasudeva. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence. So, Prabhupada makes the point. Because you have renunciation and devotional service. Renunciation as an impersonalist. They use knowledge to understand I'm not this body, and they reject everything. But that does not lead to real liberation. That is good, that's understanding you are not a body. You are a soul. But they don't understand what is this soul. It's a part of Krishna. And therefore you must act as a soul. Acting as a soul. So unless you act as a spirit soul and purify yourself, you cannot escape material bondage. Therefore, devotional service is better. We get that? In Prabhupada's words here, which are more clear than mine, therefore, jnana or knowledge that one is not this material body, but a spiritual soul is not sufficient for liberation. One has to act in the status of a spirit soul, Otherwise, there is no escape from material bondage. Further, but action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one to escape the results of a fruitive action, so that one need not to descend to the material platform. Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation, which entails a risk of falling. Renunciation without Krishna consciousness is complete, as mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And now Prabhupada quotes this verse that I just have read from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So we are saying the same thing. That's a good sign. Should be like text 3. Yeya sanitya sanyasi yo na vesti na kanchati nirtan mabo sukam bandhat pamutsati. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty Arjuna, neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities. Can someone read purple?
One who is fully Krishna consciousness is always a renouncer because he feels neither hatred nor desire for the results of his actions. Such a renouncer, dedicated to the transcendental loving service of the Lord, is fully qualified in knowledge because he knows his constitutional position in his relationship with Krishna. He knows fully well that Krishna is a whole and that he is part and parcel of Krishna. Such knowledge is perfect because it is qualitatively and quantitatively correct. The concept of oneness with Krishna is incorrect because the part cannot be equal to the whole. Knowledge that one is one in quality, yet different in quantity is correct. Transcendental knowledge, leading one to become full in himself, having nothing to aspire to or lament over. There is no duality in his mind because whatever he does for Krishna. Being thus freed from the platform of dualities, he is liberated even in this material world.
So the verse says, one who does not hate or desire the fruits of his activities. And Prabhupada in the purpose says, one who is in Krishna consciousness is always a renouncer because he feels neither hatred nor desire for the results of his action. So he does it for Krishna. There is no duality in his mind because whatever he does for Krishna. Thus being freed from the platform, duality is liberated even in this material world. So that's the ask we have to learn. Four. Sankhya Yoga Pitar Pala Padavantina Pandita Ekamapyastita Samyak Ubayor Vinate Phalam. Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who actually learn it says that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the result of both. Purport. The aim of analytical study of the material world is to find the soul of existence. The soul of the material world is Vishnu, or the supersoul. Therefore, is no service to the Lord entails service to the supersoul. One process is to find the root of the tree, and the other is watering the root. So, both their aim is Vishnu. One who is learned knows the unifying aim in these different processes. Yeah. So they study the difference between matter and spirit to find the soul and the super soul. That's what they are searching for. But the devotee does not search, he has already found. Super soul is there. Okay. And therefore he waters the root. The root, he found the root of existence. Yeah, the Jnanis, they are trying to find the root. The devotee has found the root and is watering the root by devotional service and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. So they are trying to find the root here. But we have found the root, we are watering the root. See? That's devotional service, watering the root. And they are trying to find the root. Both concerned with the root, and the root is Vishnu or Krishna. That's what's in the purport. Good. Text 5. Yat Sankhya Pavate Stanam Tatkarap Kamyate Ikasam Sayogam Sayapasa Sapasati. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and would therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees as they are. Can someone read this small purport?
The real purpose of philosophical research is to find the ultimate goal of life. Since the ultimate goal of life is self-realization, there is no difference between the conclusions reached by the two philosophies. As Sankhya philosophical research, one comes to the conclusion that a living entity is not a part and parcel of the material world, but the supreme spirit whole. Consequently, the spirit soul has nothing to do with the material world. Actions must be in some relation with the supreme. When he acts in Krishna consciousness, he actually in his constitutional position. In the first process of Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter, and in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the word of Krishna consciousness. Factually, both processes are the same, although superficially one process appears to involve attachment, and the other process appears to involve attachment. Attachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. One can see things as they are.
So the point is here, the Jnanis, they have a very difficult time to announce everything. They cannot have sense gratification, nothing. They give everything up. And it's very hard. It makes the heart hard, all these austerities, but they want to be detached. But a devotee, he becomes attached to Krishna. And because the more he becomes attached to Krishna, the more he becomes detached from matter. So they also become detached. So both they become detached. But one process is much more practical and easy. And that's stressed in the next verse. The detachment from matter and attached to Krishna are one and the same. Something we should remember. If we are too attached to something in this world, we should increase our attachment to Krishna. That's the solution. Hare Krishna.
Soul and the mind, they are kind of in the position to do the same.
The mind is a material element. That mind is a material element. When it's completely spiritualized. So what did we learn in the 4th chapter? How do we transform matter into spirit? that by using it in Krishna's service, if we use the mind in Krishna's service, it becomes highly spiritualized. But don't stop using it unless it's spiritualized, means your entire life. Don't let a split second between that you think, oh, how do I feel today? There you are in Maya. There you are gone. It's not so easy what we are learning here. We have really to learn to practice it. Like complete absorption in Krishna consciousness. Learning to constant absorb ourselves. That's the art of Krishna consciousness we have to learn. And then it will become spiritualized. But don't think I'm chanting my rounds and I'm somewhat absorbed in Krishna, maybe here and there. Huh? And then you stop and you do other things as usual, that your mind has become spiritual. It's still your enemy, your greatest enemy. That spiritualization process takes many, many years and a whole endeavor, because for thousands of lifetimes, we don't know how many we have identified with the mind. And now we have to stop that. We stop that in 2 days. No, that's not possible. You must give it time, Daryat, patience. It's a process. Takes 6. So, Sanyasatu Mabo Dukamaptama Yogata Yogyukta Vinirvana Shanada Gachati. Merely announcing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotion and service of the Lord cannot make one happy. But the thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So, merely announcing and not engaging in devotional service cannot make one happy. You want to get rid from the miseries and you want to be peaceful, that's nice, but it will not make you happy. That happiness lies in relationships. The highest happiness lies in our relationship with Krishna. So there are 2 classes of sannyasis, or person in the renounced order. The Mayavadi sannyasis are engaged in the study of Sankhya philosophy. So these are the Jnanis, the Mayavadis. Whereas the Vaishnavas sannyasis are engaged in the study of the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam, which is the proper commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. The Mayavadis, they study Sarika Bhasya from Shankaracharya. So the Vaishnava sannyasis have multiple engagement in the transcendental service of the Lord. They are especially they are described in the Pancharatika Vidhi, deity worship and so on. The Vaishnava sannyasis who are engaged in devotional service are happy in discharge of their transcendental duties, and they have the guarantee of ultimate entrance in the kingdom of God. The Mayavadi sannyasis sometimes fall down from the power of self-realization and again enter in material activities of a philanthropic and altruistic nature. At the end, those who are engaged in Krishna consciousness are better situated than the sannyasis engaged in simple speculation about what is Brahman and what is not Brahman, although they come to Krishna consciousness after many births. Thus, the Jnanis come to Krishna consciousness after many births. 7:19 Bhagavad Gita. Bhavanam jnanamam namte jnanamam mam papachante vasdeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births, they come to know Krishna is everything. And then they engage in devotional service. So renunciation is difficult without karma yoga. That's what Prabhupada mentions here in the purport. This is what I read from the purport. Now, symptoms, acts, and attainment of the karma yoga in Krishna consciousness. First, what happens if one engages in Krishna consciousness? In text 7, Krishna consciousness is called Yoga Yukta. Yukta means worship. Yoga connection to worship or devotional service. Yoga Yukta is just devotional service. Yoga Yukta Vishuddhatma Vichitatma Chitandaya Sarvabhutatma Bhutatma Kofanapi Nalipyate. So, what makes a devotee dear to everyone? One who walks in devotion with a pure soul who controls the mind and senses is dear to everyone. Everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a person is never entangled. So Krishna, anyway. In the purport. Because he's in pure consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. And because his mind is controlled, his senses are also controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there is no chance of his senses deviated from Krishna. Nor is there a chance that he will engage his senses in matters other than the service of the Lord. Yes. You read it again, because he's in pure consciousness, fixed on Krishna. No material desire, only the desire to serve Krishna. By that, his mind is completely controlled. And because his mind is completely controlled and his senses are engaged in Krishna's service only, not in sense gratification, and therefore they are controlled. But the mind must first be pure. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there is no chance of his senses deviated from Krishna. Nor is there a chance that he will engage his senses in matters other than the service of the Lord. So a devotee, he loves all living entities because he sees all living entities as a Krishna's path. And therefore thinks himself the servant of everyone. Because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is dear to everyone. Yes. In the purport. So, a devotee knows very well that pouring water on the root of the tree, the water will be distributed to all leaves and branches, or by supplying food to the stomach, the energy is automatically distributed throughout the body. So by serving Krishna, all living entities become satisfied. And Durvasa Muni, he went on request of Duryodhana, he went to the camp of the Pandavas after they had eaten. And he was with 20,000 disciples or something. And they came to beg for food. But Draupadi had already cooked. She had a special pot. And as long as she had not eaten, the pot would produce unlimited food. But she had eaten. that was the plan. They came after in the afternoon. And Yudhishthira Maharaj said, yes, you go take a bath, we'll prepare your prasad. But it was not possible. So Draupadi started to cry. And Krishna came and said, what's the problem? Well, he said, all these disciples are there. If we don't feed them, the Vasa Muni will curse us. And I've already eaten. And Krishna said, you are sure there is nothing left in the pot? And they went to see in the pot, and there was a little speck of sabji somewhere. And Krishna took it and ate it, and he felt satisfied. And all these disciples were taking a bath, and after taking a bath, they felt all satisfied, and said, we cannot go eat there because we are not hungry. And they left. But anyway, that's the story of Durvasa Muni. So because everyone is satisfied by his work, is in pure consciousness. Because he's in pure consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. So, at the end, why then was, therefore his senses are controlled. A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to one. One may ask, why then was Arjuna offensive in the battle to others? Wasn't he Krishna conscious? Arjuna was only superficially offensive because, as had already been explained in the second chapter, all the assembled persons on the battlefield would continue to live individually, as the soul cannot be slain. So spiritually, no one was killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only their dresses were changed by the order of Krishna, who was personally present. Therefore, Arjuna, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was not really fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such a person is never entangled in the reactions of war. And now text 8:9. 8:9 describes the consciousness of one who sees things as they are in this world. So we are all covered by Maya, we think ourselves the doer, but the Krishna conscious person who is purified, he sees different. What does he see in this world? It's described here. That, so just as a drunken man does not notice if he is wearing his coat or shirt, similarly, one who is in perfect realization, who has achieved the eternal identity, does not notice whether the temporary body is sitting or standing. Indeed, if by God's will the body is finished, or if by God's will he obtains a new body, the self-realized soul does not notice, just as a drunken man does not notice the situation of his outward dress. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:13-36. Anyway, we will read it. Naiva kinshit karomiti yuktamayeta tatvavat pashan shikhan asangashpam swapam spasam palapam vicham nicham unmisham nimasham api indiachti vartanta iti daryan. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, not breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with the objects, that he is aloof from them. In the purport, although he appears to be acting with his body and senses, he is always conscious of his actual position, which is spiritual engagement. We have also learned that in Nectar of Instruction, right? One should be situated on the bank of the Yamuna, performing devotional service in his Siddha Deha, in his spiritual body. That you remember? One of the last verses. That I think I get it. I'll read it. It's one of the last verses. And that is also the situation of a self-realized person. Other books by Prabhupada, Nectar of Instruction. It's 9 or 8. Yeah, that is not what is the highest. Well, here. Who then will not reside at Radhakund and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, aprakritabhav, render loving service to the divine couple Shishi Radha Govinda who perform their Astakalya Lila. So this is very advanced. That's the one who has attained love of God. He doesn't identify with the body. That he performs devotional service in the spiritual body, and he's not aware anymore of the material body. But what is here said, a person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, breathing, always knows himself that he actually does nothing at all. That's also on the Gyan platform, that, you know, the soul only desires. So if a pure devotee sees, he desires and his hand moves, he knows, oh, Krishna is moving my hand. So kind. I desire it and he moves my hand. I want to speak these words and it comes out of my mouth, but I'm not doing it. He sees always Krishna every moment. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening, closing of his eyes, he always knows that the material senses are engaged with their objects. And who orchestrates this engagement? Who is controlling this material nature and doing that? Maya Dakshina Prakriti 9:10. That Krishna is the super soul in the heart and does it. I only desire that this could be, is that it could be Sanatana Goswami, could also Madhavendra Puri, but I'm not sure. But that could be Madan Mohan. I think it's Madan Mohan. Yeah, these chapatis, which he burns. That and Madan Mohan is complaining that why are you offering me always these dried chapatis? Can't you use a little salt? He said to Sanatana Goswami. And that and Sanatana Goswami said, I'm a poor Brahmin, what can I do? Now you're asking for salt. Then you will ask for sweets, but Madan Mohan wanted to give him a little salt. So there came a boatman on the Yamuna with tons of salt. And he got struck with his boat, grounded. And the boatman came to Sanatana Goswami and said, what to do now? Well, I said, the only one who can help you is Madan Mohan. You pray to him. And he prayed to him, and it started to rain. And gradually the boat became again floating. And the boatman said, yeah, when I come back, I will build a temple for Mother Man. That's now the beautiful Mother Man temple near to Keshigat. That's therefore a little salt. Krishna arranged for a lot of salt. Okay, so I am doing nothing at all. Surprising, like the child, very surprising. The Lord teaches the method by which one is not contaminated by actions. So that's interesting, not contaminating by action. If you think I speak and I'm speaking, I'm the only one who's speaking, but no, Krishna is speaking. If you think I'm speaking, it's false ego. Do we recognize that? Are we aware of that? So we are acting a lot out of false ego during the day. That not seeing Krishna doing things. We are just putting him aside. I'm doing everything myself. Although the karma yogi, yukta, the devotee is engaged in seeing and other actions by verifying with his intelligence that the senses alone are engaged in their objects, he thinks, I'm not doing anything at all. I'm only desiring. It's Krishna who does everything. And that's the reality. That's the reality. Otherwise, we are in Maya. This is a big pill to swallow for the conditioned souls. Hare Krishna. Therefore, if we know that, what do we do? Text 10. Raman yadaya karmani sankyam tyaktva karotya lipyatena sapapena patra patrami pambasa. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results to the Supreme, is unaffected by sinful actions, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So, we are like the lotus leaf. A drop of water falls on it and it rolls down, like here. It doesn't impregnate in the lotus. So everything in the material world is a manifestation of Brahman, and although the effects are differently manifested, they are different from the cause. In the Isha Upanishad, it is said that everything is related to the Supreme Brahman or Krishna, and thus everything belongs to him only. One who knows perfectly well that everything belongs to Krishna, that he is the proprietor of everything, and that therefore everything is engaged in the devotional service, naturally, has nothing to do with the results of his activities, whether virtuous or sinful. That is really what's meant in the Isha Upanishad, working in harmony with the Supreme. The conclusion is that the person in Krishna consciousness acts according to the concept of the material body and senses. But the person is that a person without Krishna consciousness acts according to the concept of the material body and senses. But a person in Krishna consciousness acts with knowledge that the body is the property of Krishna and therefore should be engaged in the service of Krishna. So Sanatana Goswami arrived in Jagannath Puri, and he got a kind of skin infections and a lot of injuries were there, and pus came out. And when he arrived in Jagannath Puri, he was staying with Haridas Thakur. So he was thinking, if Lord Chaitanya, I cannot go to Lord Chaitanya because he will embrace me, and then I will contaminate them. But Lord Chaitanya came to Syaradas Thakur and Sanatana Goswami, and he embraced Sanatana Goswami by force. And Sanatana Goswami was thinking, now I made a great offense, I contaminated his body. I will, at the next Ratha Yatra, I will throw myself under the cart of Lord Jagannath and leave my body. But Lord Chaitanya is a super soul in everyone's heart. And he says that, he said to Sanatana Goswami, you think your body belongs to you? Your body belongs to me. And I have a lot of plans with this body in the future. What service? So you should not do that. That's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So everyone's material body being a gift of the Lord for carrying out a particular type of action can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. It is then beyond contamination by sinful reactions, exactly as the lotus feet, though remaining in the water, is not wet. Pradhan. The material world is a sum total manifestation of the three modes of material nature, technically called Pradhan. The material world is a manifestation of Brahman. Everything is related to the Supreme Brahman or Krishna, and thus everything belongs to him only. A person in Krishna consciousness acts according to the knowledge that the body is the property of Krishna and should therefore be engaged in the service of Krishna. His actions are beyond the contamination of sinful reaction. So the point is, everything comes from Krishna. Everything comes from Brahman. And thus the process of creation is described in the Bhagavatam. It starts with Krishna glancing into Brahman, and he puts by his glance the three modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, into Brahman. But they are in equilibrium, they are in balance, they are not agitated. But then with his glance, he injects kala, time, and he injects the living entities. And by the living entities, there's the conditioned souls from previous creation, which are still in his body, he injects them. And because of their material desires, that equilibrium in the three modes is agitated and broken. And then it starts to react, and it creates a first element, false ego. And then it goes further. It's a whole technical, but very understandable process. But when Krishna puts the living entities inside, and time and the three modes unmanifested, in that stage is called Pradhan. Later it becomes then Matattva and Prakriti. So, but now we must act for purification. That's an important verse. Kayena manasa buddhya kevala rinya rapi yogana karma kovanti sangatchatvatma sudaye. The yogi must always act without attachment, must with body, mind, intelligence, even with the senses, for the purpose of purification. We must use our BMW, body, mind, and words, for purification. BMW. That's I remember when Body, mind, and words. Words. You speak words. Body, mind, and words in service of Krishna. BMW. That a BMW. When I joined Radhadesh, I was an accountant, and my spiritual master wanted me to become a chartered accountant, recognized by the state to help Radhadesh. For this, I had to follow some courses, but also a proof period in an accountant's office in Antwerp. So I went to Antwerp. From Radhadesh to Antwerp, it's about 150 kilometers. Going back 300. I was very attached to drive big cars. I had a big BMW. So I had to drive 3 times a week from Radhadesh to Antwerp and back. That's 900 kilometers a week. And I did that 18 months. So I used my BMW in the service of Krishna. 18 months. After 18 months, 900 kilometers a week, I assure you, you don't want to drive a car anymore. It was all gone away. Just by using my BMW, I became purified. And the desire was gone away. But here BMW means body, mind, and words. We should always use in the service of Krishna without attachment. But even if you have attachment, if you are sincere, pleasing the spiritual master, Krishna will take it away. So acting for purification, when one acts in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the sense of Krishna, any action, whether body, mind, intelligence, or the senses, is purified of material contamination. Further, at the end, he has no false ego, for he does not believe that he is the material body, or that he possesses the body. He knows that he is not this body, and that this body does not belong to him. He himself belongs to Krishna, and the body too belongs to Krishna. When he applies everything produced of the body, mind, intelligence, words, life, wealth, etc., whatever he may have is within his possession, to Krishna's service, is at once dovetailed with Krishna. He is one with Krishna and is devoid of false ego, and that leads one to believe that he is the body, etc., that he is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. Okay, yogis abandon attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, even with the senses, only for purification. This is also described in Bhakti Samhita Sindhu. Could be that it's one of the verses you have to learn. A person acting in Krishna consciousness with the body, mind, intelligence, and words is a liberated person within this world, although he may be engaged in many so-called material activities. So when someone asked Prabhupada, how many pure devotees are there in ISKCON? He asked his secretary, how many devotees do we have today? He considered all the devotees pure devotees. Does that mean they were pure in heart? No. But they were purely using their body, minds, and words in the service of Krishna. And what happens then? Then you are acting as a spirit soul. You are acting on the liberated platform. And then you are imperceptibly liberated. Prabhupada said imperceptibly means very soon they will be liberated. If they can continue doing that 24 hours a day, then it will go quick. but unfortunately, most of them did not do that. But at that time, our movement was expanding like anything because everyone was wanting to please Prabhupada, and that's called the Hare Krishna explosion. We had open temples all over the world. It was very nice and distributed millions of books. And what do you then attain? Well, Yukta Kama Phalang Tyaktva, Ayukta Kama Karana Phalo Sakta Nivachat. Yukta Kama Phalang Tyaktva, Santim Apnavati Nashtikim, Ayukta Kama Karana Phalo Sakta Nivachat. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of his activities to me, whereas the person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. Two possibilities. You are greedy, or you are using your BMW in the service of Krishna. These two are there. That if you use the BMW in the service of Krishna, you get unadulterated peace. But otherwise, if it's not in the service of Krishna, but out of greed, you become entangled. Attached to Krishna, the former is attached to Krishna, the latter is attached to the result of his activities. So when Arjuna went with Duryodhana to Krishna, Arjuna chose Krishna. He was attached to Krishna. But Duryodhana was greedy. He wanted the armies, and he got the armies. Of course, you know what happens afterwards. In the Bhagavatam, the cause of anxiety over the results of activities is explained as being one's functioning in the conception of duality, that is, without knowledge of the absolute truth, that Krishna is the supreme. So, if you have the divine vision that was described before in 8.9, that you see that Krishna is doing everything, then no anxiety. But if you forget that, and that I'm doing things, I'm the only doer, you are full of anxiety because you identify with the body, which is not yours, belongs to Krishna. Even our body is not ours. Lord Chaitanya said to Sanatana Goswami, you think your body is yours, it's mine. So in Krishna consciousness, there is no duality. Although that exists is a product of Krishna's energy, and Krishna is all good. Therefore, activities in Krishna consciousness are on the absolute plane. They are transcendental and have no material effect. One is therefore filled with peace in Krishna consciousness. But when one is entangled in profit calculation for sense gratification, cannot have that peace. The secret of Krishna consciousness realization is that there is no existence beside Krishna is a platform of peace and fearlessness. So here it is said, the person who is attached to Krishna and works for him only is certainly a liberated person and has no anxiety of the result of activities. One who is entangled in profit calculation for sense gratification cannot have peace. Hare Krishna. Phalam tyaktva santam apnoti naistikim. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all his activities to me. Yes. Now, the next section, the relationship between Ishvara, Jiva, and Prakriti. These are three out of 5 of the themes in Bhagavad Gita. The The transcendentalist who works with detachment has knowledge of the relationship between living entity, material nature, and the supersoul. Although the modes of nature of the supersoul may appear to be the cause of action and reaction, they are not responsible. When the living entity desires to enjoy material nature, the modes carry out the necessary actions with the permission of the supersoul. That is what happens. Verse 13, we are residing happily in the city of 9 gates. This is a city gate in Yorkshire, in England. I've been preaching there. Nice devotees there. So when the embodied living being controls his nature, that is the verse. Sarvakamana manasa sanyaste sukham vashi navve poedevu navako vanakayan. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. The purpose, the soul, although subjecting himself to the condition of the body, can be beyond those conditions. By Krishna consciousness, he can revive his real position and thus come out of his embodiment at the end. But when one identifies himself with the Lord within himself, he becomes just as free as the Lord, even while in the body. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is free from both the outer and inner activities of the material body. Not easy to understand for us. So when the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, neither working nor causing work to be done. Because there is no attachment. We are suffering because attachment, especially attached to the body. That if one realizes one's spiritual position, and there is no fear of death, that he mentally renounces all actions, all results. So the city of 9 gates, 2 eyes, 2 ears, the anus, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, the genitals. These are the gates that the Krishna conscious person is free from the outer and inner activities of the material body. It's not, that goes automatically by the super soul. But no, tossed by the waves of the ocean. We all experience that. Nakartit van na karma ni lokasyochitsa shepabo, na karma phala samyogam svabhavastu pavartate. The embodied spirit master of the city of his body does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. So Krishna says, practically we are not doing them. Besides desire, we are not doing anything. It's all done by material nature, which is under control of the super soul. Thus, we are not creating activities, we are not inducing other people to act. It's all Krishna who does that. Can someone read the purport beginning a few lines down, the temporary body of the material dwelling place?
The temporary body of material dwelling place, which he obtains, is the cause of varieties of activities and their resultant reactions. Living in such a conditioning atmosphere, one suffers the results of the activities of the body by identifying himself in ignorance with the body. It is ignorance acquired from time immemorial that is the cause of bodily suffering and distress. As soon as the living entity becomes aloof from the activities of the body, he becomes free from the reactions as well. As long as he is in the city of the body, he appears to be the master of it, but actually he is neither its proprietor nor controller of its actions and reactions. He is simply in the midst of the material ocean, struggling for existence. The waves of the ocean are tossing him, and he has no control over them. His best solution is to get out of the water by transcendental Krishna consciousness. That alone will save him from all torment.
Mhm. So as long as one is in the city of the body, he appears to be the master of it, but actually is neither its proprietor nor control of his action and reactions. The waves of the ocean are tossing him, and he has no control over them. It's like this boat, no control over the waves. And the modes of nature makes us go this side, that side, and two sides. It brings in situations where we don't want to be. But no control. But Itier said, yeah, everything is done by material nature. It's not done by us. We are only desiring that it's done by material nature. And to make the confusion complete, Krishna says that so the embodied spirit, the embodied soul is not doing anything. It's not done by material nature. In the next verse, Krishna says, I'm also not doing anything. He says, Nada te gachit papam na cheva sukitam vibu, akyani naftam kyanam tenami antiyantava. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their knowledge. So Krishna says, I'm also not responsible for the good and bad acts. So what's the reality here? Krishna created the system, the material nature with its laws and so on. But he's not responsible for our happiness and distress in this world. We are responsible because we get the reactions of our actions. And we are responsible, Prakriti, Jnanam, Bhakti Prakriti Jangunan. That was the point. The 15th chapter, 15:8, or a little further. Bhakti Prakriti Jangunan. No, that's the 13th chapter. It's 13. 22. Puse partisue bhakti parchijanyan. The living entity in material nature follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. We are trying to enjoy material nature. Bhakti parchijanyan. But it's not from us, from Krishna. We are trying to enjoy, and we get reactions. Because so Krishna says, I'm not responsible, you are trying to enjoy, and you get your reaction. Oh, that's nothing to do with it. He says, yeah, I'm not responsible for their sinful actions or their pious actions. Nothing to do with it. But he has created a system, and he controls material nature of the supersoul and gives reactions that. But we are not producing these reactions. Material nature is producing it. Why? As a reaction of our actions. So that's what's happening. So it does not create a particular situation for any living entity. It's a living entity himself who does that. We are the architect of our present happiness and distress. It's fixed by our birth already because of the whole scenario, the only film of our life is already written by Krishna. That the only freedom we have is how we react on it. How we react to it. We react in Krishna consciousness. No reaction. We act out of false ego and fight against it. It's like you are in prison and you get a punishment and you fight against it. What's going to result? You are going to be longer in prison. That's all. And that's what's happening. It does not create a particular situation for any living entity, but the living entity bewildered by ignorance desires to be put in certain conditions of life. By our desires, we are desiring to be put in certain conditions of life. Therefore, the chain of action and reaction begins. Because he's a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled by the omnipotent Lord. Krishna fulfills our desires in material nature, that's all. Very kind, gives us the reactions. The Lord is never responsible for the action and reactions of the particular situation which may be desired. He can understand the desires of the individual soul and can smell the flavor of a flower by bringing near it. Desire a subtle form of conditioning for the living entity. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires, and the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desires of a minute living entity. So that's our free will. We can desire what we want. That's our free will. That's all. That's the only free will we have. And that free will we must use in Krishna consciousness. Instead of serving the body, we should serve Krishna. Redirect our desire. However, when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can attain him and be eternally happy at the end. Therefore, the embodied soul is by his immemorial desire to avoid Krishna consciousness, the cause of his own bewilderment. Under the spell of ignorance, the living entity claims that the Lord is responsible for his conditional existence. So they blame God. He is responsible. So important to remember is desire is a subtle form of conditioning. Be very careful with what you desire. Very careful. That's the cause of everything, your desire. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning for living entity. The Lord fulfills his desire as he deserves. Man proposes and God disposes. The Lord does not interfere with the desires of the minded independent living entities. Vibhu and Anu. So the Sanskrit word Vibhu means the Supreme Lord, who is full of unlimited knowledge, riches, strength, fame, beauty, and renunciation. The Lord is Vibhu, omniscient. The living entity is Anu, or atomic. So as one can smell the smell of a flower. The Lord is a constant companion of the living entity, Paramatma, or the super soul, and can therefore understand the desire of the individual, as one can smell the flower of a flower, smell the flavor of a flower by being near it. So he knows what we desire. Yes?
I didn't understand now the word, the meaning of Vibhu and Anu.
Vibhu means great, and Anu means small. The Lord is Vibhu because he's the greatest. He has all knowledge, riches, strength, fame, beauty, and so on. That is Vibhu. And the living entities, Anu, we are like spiritual atoms, 1/10,000 of a piece of them. So we are not big. We are not big because we have a big body here. We think strong palsy, or we think the body we're living, but we are very small parts of Krishna. Yeah, that. Yeah, 16 is the last one for this section. We will end with that and then have a pause. But however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nations is destroyed. then this knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So perfect knowledge of one's relationship with God can be obtained when one meets the representative of God. Such knowledge drives away the ignorance as the sun drives away the darkness. So perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders to Krishna. When one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him. Real knowledge can be obtained from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one has to seek out a bona fide spiritual master and learn from him in Krishna consciousness. Even though a person may be in full knowledge that he is not a body, but is transcendental to the body, he still may not be able to discriminate between the soul and the supersoul. But one can know God and one's relationship with God when one actually meets a representative of God, at the end, identity with individuality, spiritual life in real knowledge. So this is what the verse says and Prabhupada. Transcendental knowledge destroys ignorance. That, yes, those who, it's an Empire State Building in New York. Those who associate with saintly persons have their ignorance, which is opposed to knowledge, destroyed by that knowledge of Atma and Paramatma. The Vidya liberates the Jiva, knowledge. Thus the Lord does not bind anyone, nor does he liberate anyone, but Vidya and Avidya, which are the qualities of Prakriti, liberate and bind the Jiva. So we bind ourselves by ignorance. And the cause is lust. We have heard enemy number one, lust, anger, greed. We have to remove from our heart. And then knowledge will come by serving Krishna, and that knowledge liberates us. So, any question? Yeah?
What's the difference between chapter 5 and 12? We seem to be told describing the way between
5 and 12. Yeah, in chapter 5, Arjuna is asking which is better, renunciation or walk in devotion. In chapter 12, he has already understood devotional service is the best, but he wants to assure his position in devotional service in chapter 12. Therefore, he's asking, which position is better? The one who worship the impersonal Brahman or those who perform devotional service? And Krishna will immediately say devotional service is superior. And why? So that's the difference. He is already a stage further, because the middle of chapters is about devotional service. We get the point. But still, some little doubt is still there. Therefore, at the end, beginning of the 18th chapter, he is asking again, what's the difference between Tyag and Sannyas? Anyway, that's a similar question, but of different nature. Good, yeah.
Because you were speaking about fearlessness, how then can we be fearless of Maya and Krishna's control?
How can we be fearless of Maya?
Yeah.
We should always be very fearful of Maya.
Yeah,
that is what Prabhupada says. My American disciples have one problem. They are not fearful enough for Maya. So if you are fearful of Maya, you stay out of her influence. And staying out of her influence means acting Krishna consciousness always. But we always fearful of Maya. Because when you are under Maya, then fear takes over. You identify with the body.
So fearlessness includes fear of Maya. If one is fearless, that includes still that he has fear of Maya.
When one is fearless, one is liberated. Fearless means that one is in knowledge. One is in knowledge. that, and is fearless means one is in knowledge, and he knows that ignorance will cause the body identification and will cause suffering, fear. So if you have in knowledge, you are fearless, but you understand the cause of fear. Is the body concept of life. And this ignorance is Maya. We are fearful from this ignorance. But, don't engage in materialistic activities. Good. Yeah.
We have time already. I wanted also to know, because you were mentioning that we should not think about how we feel today, that is Maya. How can I understand?
Say that.
We should not think about how we feel today, or when we get up, how we are feeling.
Yeah, that's it's like putting on the television, and your mind becomes completely absorbed in all the nonsense of the television. If we want to feel, look, let's see what comes into my mind. And then you are looking at the television of the mind. And the program of Maya is to drag you down, to get you, and that all your material attachments, increase your material attachment some way or another. And she's very subtle, very expert. You'll never think let's see how I feel about it. No. That we should use our emotions in Krishna consciousness, but not give the mind a vacation. Very dangerous. That is the end. Thank you. We are going for, let's resume at 10 to 1. 10 to 1.